This is AndyTube, and this is Ike, my new-to-me Singer Model 15. Now I have to say Ike was an impulse buy. I really didn't have any plans to buy any new machines, but my friend Shelley sent some pictures of her Model 15 and 201-2 that she'd been working on refurbing and restoring. And they were just beautiful. And her comments about how much she likes the 15 and the stitching was attractive to me, because this has the type of hook that's down below the bed facing the end of the machine. So it has a oscillating shuttle hook on a horizontal axis down here, and that's exactly the kind of hook setup that my wife likes the best for her sewing. I think that's why her main driver is a 301A. So anyway, I was quite interested all of a sudden, and I happened to see this machine on a charity website, and I bid and won for $76 including shipping. Now of course when it arrived, the wood case was all broken and smashed up, and there's some cosmetic damage to the machine. This is how I found the part of the light lens cover down, roaming around in the bottom of the shipping box. That all broke off, and I have a bent spool pin up here and some scratches and stuff on the hand wheel. But I emailed them that afternoon, and the next morning they refunded me $50. So I said okay. I showed it to my wife, and she said, yeah, let's fix it up. I said okay. So I'm just going to do a little walk around the machine here and talk about it a little bit, since this is the first one that I've ever seen in person, actually. The first Model 15 I've ever seen. And you know, Singer made domestic and industrial versions of this machine, Model 15, for about 80 years. The first one, I believe, was the 15K out of Kilbowie, Scotland, hand crank, and 1879. And the Model 15 is what brought us the Class 15 bobbin and needle. So this is more of an original style Class 15 bobbin with the flat sides, and you see it holds more than the model Class 66 bobbin. And this is the newer version of that bobbin, where it has sight holes so you can follow how much thread is left versus just the one. Plus I think this is probably cheaper to make than these. But they both work well, and these are on many, if not most, of today's domestic sewing machines, a Class 15 bobbin system. And the 15X1 needle, which is now pretty much called a universal needle, was also designed for this machine. Going back to 1879 until today, the Class 15 bobbin and needle have survived real well. The other thing I learned from researching the Model 15 was this unique tension unit system that's back here on the faceplate. I mean, it's actually attached to the faceplate on the back side of it here. Look at that. And this is a 1953 model year, and you see it has a numerated dial. And at first looking at this, it looks very similar to what I had on my 99K Singer machine. So I'm interested in seeing that. Boy, this thing is heavy. Anyway, you know, when I first looked at the machine, I'm up here on the front view and I'm like, hey, where's the tension? and where is the take-up lever? Well, the take-up lever is also sticking out the end of the nose here instead of coming over here on the front. So I said, wow. So there's a couple of things that are different for me. And then if we look up here on the, I better put this back on here so I can continue my walk around. But up here on the top back edge of the cover plate, the nose plate here, is a thread guide, because from the spool pin back here, the thread comes down the back side and in through the tension unit, take-up lever, comes over here to a thread guard and down to a thread guide that's we've seen on many of the needle clamps that Singer made. And okay, I mentioned the take-up lever in the front here. Now this pressure regulating thumb screw for the pressure bar system, that looks a very common also type of thing that, you know, I've seen on many vintage Singer machines here with the tension spring, you know, and a lift bracket that lifts up the thing by the raising lever. And down here with the thread cutter. And I've done so many slant needle machines that it's always surprising to me at first to see a low shank presser foot. Look at these cute little feet. Sorry, the thumb screw that holds these on is about a ½ inch above the needle plate, where the slant feet are about 3/4 of an inch. But we see the needle bar counterbalance back here with the needle bar connecting link screwed into it. You know, that's what makes the needle bar go up and down, and the take-up lever go up and down. And this one thing I was want to check into a little bit more about this is it's a hollow on the top, you know, and I've never seen that before, so I gotta see why that is kind of made that way. I'm very curious about. Does this go? Oh, it does go right through. Hole goes right through it. Okay. I have to think about that one for a while, why they made it like that. And I guess that just pushes down right on the spring, right? Okay. I mentioned this oscillating hook system down here. Let me open the bed slide, and I'll show you a better look at this from down below in a moment. But I'm just gonna pull that out. This bobbin case looks oh, because I got the needle down. Sorry, that was my mistake. There we go. Because the needle goes right through that hole. So That's a pretty typical class of 15 bobbin case, a little different for me. And there's a little bit better look at the hook, oscillating hook system down there. But, you know, standard needle plate, feed dog. The feed dog can be dropped on this model. And there's a thumb screw under the bed that does that I'll show you later when I show you the hook. But the presser bar, the presser foot height is a 5/16 inch. That's the lift. And that's a pretty standard to like the Slantomatics and stuff like that have that. And the needle bar lift, from me measuring it, looks to be about 1.25 inches. So it's got a good lift here. Let's come around and look at the front of it now more. And I'm impressed with this big work area. Look at the size of this harp here. From the needle point to the base of the upright is 7 inches. So you've got a nice wide work area here. And the bed is 7 inches deep. So it's plenty to work with here. And from the top of that bed to the bottom of the arm, up here at the top of the harp, that's 5 inches. So nice big work area. And coming over here, we see the stitch length or feed regulator. It looks to be the same kind that's in the slant needle machines and many other. This is working a little stiff, but this I've read about now and figured out. When you want to set the stitch length, like there's used to be numbers on here. I can see where they were, and they're all faded and worn off. But let's say you set it about 12, then you lift this screw up. I must be above 12. Oh, here we go. Set it about 12. We lift this up till it stops and tighten it, and that's how you lock in the stitch on this machine. Okay, where before, you know, we've seen a lot of thumb nuts here on the end to lock it in. And that way, if you go up to reverse and come back, it stops it at 12. But this machine has another plate, it looks like, behind the indicator plate that stops it at the same length going up in reverse. So your reverse stitch is always going to be the same as your forward. That was interesting to me. We'll come down here, and here's your bobbin winder spool pin and your bobbin winder tension unit, a little spring loaded in there. Very common to me. I've seen that on a lot of the vintage machines and slant needles. This bobbin winder system looks the same to me as what I had on the 99. Of course, I'll take it apart and find out. But on these bobbins, there's a little notch right there, and when you put this on, you line it up with a little pin here on the bobbin winder spindle. Okay, and then when you activate it, push it down, and the latch comes in. That little pin is what on the spindle is what drives the actual bobbin to stay spinning with the spindle. And then, of course, as this as this gets full of thread, it's eventually going to pop up, and the spring in here will push the wheel away from the hand wheel, the rubber tire from the hand wheel. So it's like an auto fill or auto stop system. I like that. This is the hand wheel, and these are some access ports for grease and to the motor brushes, I think. Does this look familiar here? This stop motion screw or knob. We turn it left, and then when the machine's cleaned, and then the needle bar and feed dog and everything will stop its motion, so that you're only winding the bobbin. And then when we hold the hand wheel and turn the stop motion screw back and tighten up that clutch washer in there, now you get full movement of the machine for sewing. So you have your bobbin winder mode and your sewing mode. Very, very common seeing that on a lot of machines. And down here is we call a 3-prong receptacle. This is the power cord or line cord from the wall outlet, and then I have a light fixture and a button style foot pedal and motor wires all in here, and they look in pretty decent shape. I've sure heard a lot about old crumbling wiring on these machines. So I don't know, maybe because this is a 1953 model, you know, it wasn't, hasn't deteriorated that much. Plug this back in, and I'm going to come around here to show you this, because when you see this, many of you right away will know this is a model 15-91 with what they call the potted motor. Motor's mounted right onto the back of the machine here, with the motor shaft going through and a pinion gear to match the hand wheel and arm shaft. That's how it's going to get power, right? So this is a very desirable machine, is what I've always read and been told, because of that potted motor and the smooth action and the power it provides. Now here's the rest of my light fixture back here. The light still works, but I think this bracket is supposed to hold the molded light shade here, and somehow the reflector and the glass lens and this shade all fit together, and then they're supposed to be on here. So I'll have to learn about that. And I can trace the wiring down going in the back of the 3-prong receptacle over here. Let's see if I can get a little more light since I'm down here. There. Now, in the owner's manual I found online, this cover plate here is supposed to loosen the thumb screw and swing up so that you can get in here and put oil. And because of this light fixture, it doesn't swing up anymore, so we'll just take it off, remove it, and I'll just kind of show you what's in there more. So when I get that open now, I can see the slide block for the feed regulator right there, mounted right there on a nice bushing. And I can see the forked feed connector. You turn the hand wheel, you can see the parts moving in there. It was interesting that the oil port up here, the oil port up here on the top of that shaft, in the directions it says you turn this up to the high point, and then you can oil it through this hole up here, so it's easy to get to. And then you can oil your feed regulator and so forth. So quite a nice access port there, and I guess maybe they had to use that to help assemble the machine too, because there's no arm cover plate. Oh, you can see my bent spool pin. The other thing that broke was on the back of the base for the case are these hinges here and over here, and they're broken right off from whatever impact broke the case. Back here we have another access on the back side of the machine to a big screw in here. I'm thinking it's for the take-up lever, but I don't know. I don't know that yet. And I have to see how this releasing lever, tension pin releasing lever, because there's the little tension pin from the tension unit right there. And when that is pushed in by some part inside here, that is what releases the tension on the tension unit for when you're threading or you're removing your work from under the needle. So I'm interested to see that, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to, because this is the first time I've had this. See, this is a hinge stud, I guess. There's no, this isn't a screw. It's just, I don't know if I'm going to be able to tap it out. I look at the back side and it's like shiny. It's got a, I'll show you this. See that nice piece of metal back there? There is a little screw here, so maybe I can loosen this. Maybe this is what holds that stud in instead of it screwing in. See, I got a lot to learn here. So I'm kind of hoping that as I go through working on this machine and making more videos, that if I get stuck, that maybe some of the people who already own this machine will be able to give me a hand for it. Now, let me turn the machine back around, and I'm going to lay it on the back side here because I want to show you a little bit more of that hook and how the feed dog drop works. I think I covered everything on the machine. Okay, here's that oscillating hook I was telling you about, that as the machine runs, it oscillates back and forth to go up and grab the needle thread, bring it down, wrap it around the bobbin thread. This must be what's holding the bobbin case base in there. I'll have to discover. And this is the thumb screw I was telling you about to drop the feed dog. This is the feed lifting bar back here that the feed dog is screwed to, and when you loosen this, see that? See, there's like a little spring in there, and then you can bring it, you know, you loosen it and the spring pushes it away and the feed dog drops below the needle bar. There's a roller back in there for that. And then when you want to put the feed dogs back, you hold that down. You hold down against the spring, and then you tighten it back up, and that puts your feed dog at operating position. And when you set the feed dog height, you're doing it up in here. I'll probably do a video of that. I read a little bit about that. I found some information. But this is the very simple bottom here. You see there's no gears, you know, just the shafts, and there's a roller in here for this little fork, and there's a roller back here for the feed lifting little fork, and it just goes back and forth. But when I was looking at this machine, like, hey, how do you reset the timing if the timing goes out? and I don't think the timing can ever go out, because I'm looking at it, on these shafts, there's no set screws or gears or anything. There's just steel pins right here, like connecting the connection from the upper shaft to this hook driving shaft. It's put together and there's a steel pin driven right through it. And the same thing here, where the hook part that holds the actual hook is just got a steel pin right through the other end of the shaft. It's like, wow. So I guess that can never slip, huh? So as far as I can tell, and I'll find out more, but when you set the height of the needle bar properly, your timing is done. So, okay. So setting this back up in the box, this thing weighs about 29 pounds on my home scale. But when I flipped it back up, the bed plate went flying. So I noticed for the first time how that spring holds that on, and it looks like it's bent on one side, and I think that's going to be similar to the Model 237 I had, where people have lifted this or pushed down and it's bent that spring. So I'll leave it off for now and get a better look at that and see what I have to do to repair it. But I found the instruction manual online, and I just went through and put a little oil in every place it said, and then I put it in bobbin winding mode and tried the motor, and it was a little smoky and hesitant at first, but listen to it now. I'm not trying full speed or anything because I haven't taken a look at the motor, but sounds nice. And then in sewing mode, it actually has some good movement. Let's try it now. I say it's getting up to about half speed. I haven't adjusted the pedal or cleaned it or anything, but when I was running it like that, it was evening and my wife was in the other room, and she hollered out, "I know that sound." I said, "Oh, you do, huh?" Yeah. I think she had a 15K given to her as a young girl, and that was her first machine with the hand crank. Okay, so look, I could play with that all day, right? But that's it. That's my little walk around tour. That's some of the things I've noticed. The bed is 14 5/8 inch long, so it's it's shorter than like some of the later Rocketeer beds. I think are a little bit longer than that. But and as I said, I did get some cosmetic scratching and stuff back here. Could see deep gouges here, new. I think scraped against the latches of the broken case that it was laying in when I unpacked it and everything. Poor thing. Whew. But I hope as I go through this, I'm going to make a new playlist called the Restoration of a 1591, and if you're interested, maybe you can stop by and see some of the videos. And I appreciate you watching this, and I just tell you, take care into our second year of the pandemic, and man, what a mess, huh? But you know, we have our sewing machines to work on and sew on and craft with, right? So we're more fortunate than many people. Take care. Hope to see you again.